Minecraft podcast. My name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and I am here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Tom Myers, and we are really excited to have this conversation on clarity and courage.
Yeah.
Why don't you get us started, Tom?
I should kick it off. Okay. So the concept of what do you do? Where do you go? What are you on? Like it'd be kind of overarching, but what are you on this earth to do? What are you born to do? And I think we all have that feeling. I'm meant to do something, right? And you kind of, and sometimes it takes time to figure out, what you're meant to do and at what age. And I'm always envious of those folks who early on in life kind of have some, again, clarity, which we'll talk a lot about, but how to attain and how to utilize that level of clarity for their purpose and focus in life. And so often younger folks find that early. Many of us, most of us, it takes time to kind of find that. So what the topic really is kind of looking at, and I love the quote and kind of the concept that clarity always precedes courage.
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can you go forward with a brave heart if you don't know, if you can't see the path? Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes really good sense, I think.
Yeah. So I think when you do have that clarity in your life and in your being, that you have, okay, now I have the courage, I feel this direction that is drawing me. I have clarity, and now I have the courage to go forward. And you may still be scared, right? Shaking in your boots. But you have this clarity which is kind of buoying you up that courage.
I like that.
And that sense of like, I feel convicted, I feel strong about this, I'm clear. Still, it's not maybe all outlined, in a blueprint, but it's most of the way there. You have the feeling and the conviction that this is giving me courage, that I'm going to move in this direction.
Tom, this is taking me right to, my dear friend over, she just doesn't know. And Brene Brown is in our friendship circle too.
Oh, sure.
And Brene
Sure you are.
has done a lot of work with this. And I love how she does a lot of talk about, has a lot to say about fear and courage. And I love how she says the fact that you can't have courage without fear. You're not that brave if you got a safety net kind of thing. Excuse me. And she says that and also what's the French word for courage is cœur, right? It comes from cœur.
Heart.
Yeah, heart, right? It comes from heart. That's what I meant to say. And so you're not that brave. So she talks about putting ourselves out there with our story, just without knowing how it's going to go or how it's going to be received. And that is true courage. So she says if you're holding back and you know what the results are going to be, you're not that brave.
Yeah. Yeah, you know the outcome.
So how brave are you, right? So
right.
that's all we got the fear, but the courage is the walking through it part.
Yeah, it's launching that journey.
Right.
And again, do we always know exactly the outcome or the way in which and how we're going to get there? It's never a straight line. It's going to be somewhat linear. I think the next step is that once you commit, okay, I've got this, first of all, like let's back way up to how do you get the clarity?
I was just going to ask you that. How do we get the
clarity? It's not like all of a sudden just...
Speak to me, Tom. How do we get the clarity? Is it the heavens
For
open
me
up?
personally, I think it is in very quiet reflection, or in a way that however you might interact in a spiritual form, or in a larger kind of communication and interaction with the universe, and understanding there's something bigger than yourself that's out there. And I think you may perseverate on various things, but when you can calm your mind through meditation, through prayer, through walking in the woods, hiking, creating, some sort of creative outlet of photography or painting or writing, or I think that can help develop, again, give you some messages about clarity. And I think our lives are just so noisy.
Oh my God, there's so
And
much
you
noise.
cannot decipher, you can't discern what is clear for me or not. But I think it's such the key for folks to be able to understand how can I find clarity?
You gotta step back, gotta step out of the current, right? We're such a fast-paced, media-saturated society, and for me, I think of like literally stepping out of a fast-moving river on the bank where I'm observing myself, right? I mean, you and I both, Tom and I have had a lot of talks about this, and of course our good friend Oprah, with listening to the whispers, because really it comes down to kind of being in receptive mode and listening. And now for me, that's out in the woods. It can also happen in the Jeep, there's nobody else in there. But really, we need to step out of that noise, be quiet, meaning in our minds, right? Being quiet, because otherwise, it's kind of the universe or God or source, or however you want to say it,
Sure.
is talking to us. Those are the whispers. So if there can be a lot of conversation we're not hearing, if we're all stuck in the noise. And for me, the clarity often comes in the woods, because it's so the whole nature thing, and I've gotten so, I can't even tell you some of the projects I've gotten done here after coming straight out of the woods. Like, it just floods clarity, like a clean Windexed, window when I come out of the woods.
Yeah. And I think maybe we talked about this before, or I've heard, I can't remember the metaphor of a like the old school radio, transistor radio, where you're kind of going through the dials and you're hearing a lot of noise and nothing static.
In between, right?
Yeah, and nothing is everything's static. All of a sudden, it's kind of like you're using your mind as a receptor, of the frequency. And so you dial it in, you get the perfect clarity of a radio station, the one you want. So I think it's kind of that metaphor of kind of creating the static in life, and then all of a sudden you can just focus and you dial it in, and that message comes.
Oh my God, that makes me think of Abraham, because I might have this a little off, but she says, tuned in, tapped in, turned on.
Yeah.
Basically, you gotta first of all choose it, get what's not working for you. First of all, I'm listening for what my next move is, right? But we gotta kind of make that choice to be listening first, right? I like that.
Yeah.
Tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and then be paying attention. And you've talked a lot about in the past, you and I together, with the green lights.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to say a little bit about that, because that's clarity. The green lights are the clarity,
Yeah,
right?
I hear Matthew McConaughey talking about the green lights, and I had talked about it a couple years before, but it's a metaphor that so many people have used. Is it what is the right signal when you know you're on that right track, and you're continually getting the sense of, as you're navigating through, you keep getting a next green light to go, the next level, the next step. And it feels like, oh my gosh, this is you're almost in this flow state, but it's just coming easily. I'm not forcing anything, maybe hitting a bit of a yellow light, you're kind of forcing something and it just doesn't feel right, or all of a sudden you hit a red light, and no matter what you're doing, it just is not going forward. In this green light state, you're in this like one thing, green light to another green light to another green light, and then lo and behold, you're going down that road and you're achieving. You feel viscerally, intuitively, emotionally. You feel joy and excitement. It's going. It's happening. And so to back up to the point where you have this clarity that we've again been able to assume now. This clarity creates a courage. So it's creating this sense of a sense of empowerment. You can use any other word, but you're empowered by this. I still don't know how the heck I'm gonna get there, but lo and behold, once you make that step with your clarity moving forward, then the resources that you need are all going to be supplied to help you.
Receptive mode, I think of Kendra's myths, right?
Right, exactly.
No, you take me right back to Also, when Oprah says, it was like about her early days in television, when she was just bumping up against some yellow and then red lights, and she said, and then the whole thing was when she was talking about job versus career versus calling. And they're in that hierarchical order, where the calling is what we were meant to do on this earth.
Yeah.
And she will say, and I will say, just because how happy I am here at Champlain teaching and doing the well-being things, by how you feel, Tom. Like, you just know, you're not questioning. It's kind of like if you have to ask, am I in love? You're not. Do you know what I mean?
Good point,
like,
right, yeah.
If you have
define
to
that
ask,
in words, right, yeah,
you're not.
right, yeah.
And I think I chatted with you before about when the house we're currently in, we've been in for 20 whatever years. I knew when we walked in, it just felt right, and it wasn't like anything shallow how about me, here's a pretty house, but it was just like, it just felt right.
Yeah.
Room for the kids, the yard, and I didn't even see the rooms. I walked in the door and it just felt like it was meant to be, and we're still in it. It was a wave of this feels right, and at least for me, I get the wave of this feels right, which was also true with my beloved husband of 30-something years now. But it's also sort of simultaneous for me, a feeling of, if you don't follow this green light, it's not going to be good for you. It's like a solid, almost like a neon light in Vegas. Go this way. It's kind of like that loud, at least for me.
And I think in having that ability to tune in, to know, yes, I got a red light, this is not let's back up, let's turn this way. So you're getting these green lights, and this goes into our earlier discussions and a lot of the work done around synchronicity. Those acausal events and how the resources will be brought to you when you need them, but you need kind of tune in. You need to be aware of the signs and signals and symbols that are coming to you. Yes, you can observe them, but then how do you take that to create action? If you continually hear these resources that are coming to you when you need them, and again, if you're not tuned in, this one opportunity comes to you, like, oh, right? So I love my former with students talking about the cocktail party effect. And we as humans, again, there are certain words as humans, and going back to Maslow's theory of hierarchy, is survival. And what is one of the most important words in our lexicon as humans is our name. When we hear our name, because of course we want to survive and we want anything that pertains to our selfish self, that it is going to be a benefit for us. So the cocktail party effect, and it's going to come back to synchronicity in a second, but the fact that you can be in a crowded, loud party and this din of people talking and glasses clinking and stuff, and all of a sudden from across the room you hear your name. Like, how can I decipher all the sound, but the acuity and sensitivity of our hearing that is focused on our name, like someone's talking about me, what's going on? So back to the tuning in, when resources and things come to help you and achieve, because of the clarity, having the courage to go to your direction, any resource that's going to come about, you're going to have a higher attunement to that resource.
Oh my God, that's so true. And what you said, Tom, just now brought me back to, I think it might be, I forget if it's Julia Cameron with The Artist's Way or Sarah Von Brednick, The Simple Abundance. But either way, the two women were saying something very similar. Is how when God's source, higher power, universe, however you want to say that, divine connection, is looking for somebody to write that, this is meant to match up with your desire. Let's say you've always wanted to write a children's book. That's your own passion. The universe is trying to respond to you, or it's a play, or it's whatever, you're starting a business, but you're so wrapped up in the noise of the world and checking boxes for work, or you're just not even hearing, then let's just say both of them, would say that, Spirit moves, that's what Sarah Von Brednick refers to. Spirit will just choose somebody else. So it's kind of like they'll knock at your door because they're feeling that you have this book ready to write itself, ready to, let's say J.K. Rowling. Sure. If she weren't listening, how bad that would be for all of us, okay? So then the Spirit will just like, okay, I guess you're not ready for this. But also with a partner. If we're saying outwardly, I really want that ideal person to walk into my life, but you're flying around like a gerbil on crack with no time
Mm-hmm.
for a partner.
It's
No partner's
signaling
walking
right.
in the door, right? We've got to make the space. And actually, there's another one, Aaron Doughty, and then I'll be quiet, because this is a good example. Aaron Doughty talks about that too, and he uses the visual of a closet. And he actually, in his video, he shows this packed walk-in closet, just packed clothes, packed shoes. So metaphorically saying, if you putting out to the universe, just like with the relationship, you want a new wardrobe. You're in a clothes right, brand new wardrobe. You want to wow and pizzazz your colleagues. Well, he showed the packed closet. There's no room for new clothes in that closet. You're not going to attract those because you have no place to put them. So it's kind of the same thing, that the universe or God or source will keep moving on to who is receptive and also grateful for it.
Yeah. And we talk about divine inspiration, we talk about God focused or universe focused or source. And I think the wonderful way to go through life is to think this is a benevolent God. This is a benevolent self who wants the best for you. If you can think about that, it's not a punitive God or a God that is going to play mind games on you and give you this incredible clarity and incredible courage, then to shut the door. I mean, you understand that there is a purpose for this. There is clarity and for this purpose and for this meaning that you're meant to do this. And you feel it, back to our emotional, visceral, physiological self, right?
Isn't it like the greatest feeling?
Yeah. So God or the divine spirit is not going to close the door. It's not going to play a joke on, just kidding. I'm not going to really, give you all that clarity, but no. It might be you get to that point where there's a red light, find the green light, And it's the patience, it's the discernment and listening to what is that, again, what creates joy, what creates love, what creates compassion. Those are the emotional signals and energy that drive us. But to know it's a benevolent, good source that is coming to provide the resources for you.
To have us live the best life possible.
Yeah.
Like unique to Tom, unique to Kim, unique, that's just for us, like snowflakes.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that can do it.
As you're emitting this positive excitement and energy, right? Not always, but for the most part, more is going to be, you're attracting more to you. And each thing to achieve your goal.
Or your heart desire.
Your heart desire, and as a purpose that is, again, not self-serving.
Not calling any goal. Purpose, heart's desire,
Yeah. I think if you are focused and self-serving and you're focused on your own happiness, that's short term. That's not going to last. I mean, you can only go so far.
Right. I agree.
It's in the service and purpose and support of others.
Right.
There's a there is that direction will be laid out for you.
Yeah, and then lastly too, because I think we're probably right there. Lastly too is I know Tom agrees with me already on this, is the gratitude thing, because cognitively speaking, as we know, every single thought we have expands. If we allow it, if you kind of just let it go and it's negative, it's going to be much harder, especially after 17 seconds goes by. It's research says. So also when we're grateful, the universe responds to everything, or God, source, to everything. So if we then are showing gratitude for all these green lights and every little thing, say, I thank you for that, thank you. Maybe you got a check for $15 in the mail because who knows why. Thank you for the additional money, kind of thing. The universe is going to respond like, oh, okay, more needs to go there. Whereas we just kind of let these presents go by, no matter how small, we're not acknowledging the abundance of that, even if it's this big. The universe is hearing, well, I guess it'd be kind of like, if I gave you a present, right, for Christmas, Hanukkah, birthday, or whatever, and you just said, oh, thanks, Kim, I'll look at that later and set it on the table. You're going to give that person a present again. They didn't care about the first one, right? So same kind of thing. I think that
they must not appreciate it.
Right. So why should I get? Clearly, they're not ready for more. Yeah. So I'll hold the abundance back until they're ready. Yeah. I think that's just an important thing because the gratitude train is huge. The energy of that is gigantic.
you know, so many folks I've talked to and met with who write gratitude journals, and just 3 days into writing the journal, all of a sudden there's these things that are opening, doors are opening for them that, again, they've opened that up. They're opening to the receptiveness and perceiving these as opportunities, but thank for what they have, right? And so back to clarity, to courage, to resources, and support, and people who love you, who want to see you succeed, in order to create that sense of purpose for that individual. And we are put on this earth and meant to do something. And to find that,
100%.
find your gifts. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, I'm doing it right now. I mean, I tell my students if I hit the lottery tomorrow, which won't happen since I don't do the lottery, but I would still be teaching. I'm an educator, which also rolls with the well-being stuff I do. It's all educating, and also in the sense of educating on positivity, on the things you and I are doing. It fuels me, and helping, you and I are the same on this, we've talked about it. Helping under that umbrella of the positivity and education is helping people to see their value.
Their value, yep.
I'm on a mission with that, and that all falls under education. So I feel like I'm in the flow zone most of the time. I kind of forget, keeping track of time, and everything just goes right by me.
Sure. And when you see people laying up because you're helping them to see their strengths and value, again, that reciprocal fueling to yourself again. It's a cycle that keeps on.
You feel connected, don't you feel on fire with connection?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like at one with whatever we're calling the divine connection, just feeling, like if you're writing, you feel part of the paper or something, I don't know, but I feel part of students and part of just like, it sounds cheesy, but I actually mean it. I think this authentic electric charge just rolls right through me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for listeners or viewers who have questions about how to find this connection, or have anything that we talk about, I think you'll have areas for posting questions or connecting with us somehow.
Yes, for sure. Actually, so we are both on Instagram, newly on Instagram, and I can actually put in the right on YouTube, right underneath. I can put the links there for them to reach both of us. That sounds good.
And if I'm listening to this, like, oh my gosh, there's so many questions. How
I
do I start?
know.
How do I, so I love, again, this is our energy and our passion is helping others find value.
Totally.
And, discovering their strengths. So that's what drives us.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. All right, excellent. All right, high five. Good job.
Thanks, Ken.